Okay, let's get going here and hopefully wind all this stuff down real soon. I think 2 more videos should do it. I might run a little long though. But let's at this time go and look at the changes I made to the perimeter file that Heewing sent this with. And we do that by comparing what's in the platform right now with the changes I made, and we'll compare that to the original parameters I took out of it when it came in the door. And then we'll look at overall quad plane stuff in the last video, or might run a little longer. There's a lot there. We'll just go through these. There's a couple of them I don't understand why they changed, but that's neither here nor there. We'll discuss that when I get to it. This new value right here is what was on it when it came from the factory. This column that says value, current value, is what changes I made. And we'll start at the top. Remember, I had to change board alternate config to 1 so that we could run CRSF receiver. They did not know if I was going to run CRSF or not, so they set it up for not and told me how to change it if I was going to. Changing board alternate config to 1 and also serial 6 on that particular UART to 23 for a CRSFS. Now then, this compass use, that got changed simply because I was over here. Simply because I was over here looking at the compass here. And these two were checked, and I know there's not a second and a third compass on this platform, so I just unchecked these two. That's how that perimeter got changed. And we'll go back and pick up our list again here. There's just one that I don't quite understand how it got changed, but maybe I'll figure it out. So that's how these got changed. They were set up to use channel 6 for the modes channel. I use that. Let's put that to 10. Channel 10 is where my modes are. I'm probably going to go back down to 6 because them putting it on 6 kind of tells me that there's no problems. I shouldn't close this again. But for servo output here, right now this comes up every time because I'm not powered up. That compass is not powered up. GPS module is not powered up. So it thinks the compass is gone because I'm just on USB power right now. Don't click here if you see that message. You won't want to do that. Oops, that went away. Don't click here to remove missing because it'll remove this one up here, and as soon as you power it up it'll come back, but you don't really want to mess with it. So here because channel 6 is tilt motor front right, I didn't want to mess with that, so I chose 10. That was disabled here. A nice user sent me a message saying that no, there's no real reason if you have something here as the output of the flight controller that you can't use these as an input to the flight controller for things that won't be passed through. So I can probably go back to 6 on that one without any problem. But I chose 10 because this one was completely free and empty. This one was too. And I don't think the ELRS receiver does more than 12 channels, so I couldn't use any more of these other ones. Therefore, I don't understand how this one is changed. But we'll see here in a second. Probably should put up 2 instances of Mission Planner and put this up in one of them and put the rest of it up in the other and switch between them. So that explains why this one changed and what I might do to it. This is just the gyros. If I go over there and rock the platform right now, these numbers are going to change. So this comes up frequently just from a reboot. Don't ever worry about seeing this as changed. This QM thrust hover is being changed each time you fly as it learns more, because there is a QM thrust learn. Just like that darn thrust learn in the airplane I learned, the quads I learned for the first time. It's in this too. I guess they put it throughout everything. Instead of putting in an explicit PWM you read for mid-throttle off the data flash logs, now they're letting the computer, flight controller, sit there and recalculate it constantly as it flies. So this is going to be different almost every time after full power up. Now I calibrated RC1, RC2, RC3, and RC4. I didn't calibrate any more than that. Didn't want to mess with what they had in it, as I told you during that video. It looks like I should have when I see that motor slapping against the wing when I do yaw with the, no, actually that would be, this RC4. I did. So that has nothing to do with my prop slapping the wing. What I'm probably going to have to do in that one is change either this minimum value or this maximum value to keep it from hitting my wing anymore. But we'll get to that in due time. So within the RC1, 2, 3, and 4 stuff that got changed, remember I also found 12, and I put Q return to launch, which is what this 108 does, on that as a Q return to launch on my thumb on the throttle stick side that I've historically always had there for every platform. And no matter what, I noted, put my thumb up there and pull that switch down for my crap button to return to launch. They did not have that set as a option for RC Channel 12 because they did it in modes. I have both the modes one there, and I have this one in addition because this is my crap switch. Even if it's in modes, I'm going to reach up and grab this 9 times out of 10. Don't care what anybody says. So this R15, that somehow changed also when I did the radio calibration, but I don't know why it did because I don't have a channel 15. But we may see a little bit about what happened there in the quad plane documentation when we get to that point. I also did have to reverse RC2, throttle, elevator, aileron, elevator, throttle, rudder. So this is 2. When I pulled up on my elevator, when I tested it, it went down. So I had to reverse that. So when I pull back on the right stick, it goes up instead of down. Here's another RC2 and 3, and a 4, where I did those were changed because of radio calibration. I did put up an RC Channel 6 option, so I actually did use this Channel 6 up here already. And I put up an RC6 option before I did that little test flight because 31 means emergency motor stop. If I'm close to the ground, well, I guess if I'm up high and it's in airplane mode and I just stop the motors, it's going to glide down again. But in quad mode, I'm probably not going to pull that if I'm high up. I'll try to get into airplane mode first or something. But I did put them, either way, I did put an emergency motor stop switch on. Again, we had to do this right here for CRSF. And the rest of these down here just change on the number of times you've booted the flight controller, how long it's run, how long it's been above a flight RPM, etc., etc., etc. So the 77 seconds is probably that little flight in the backyard. And nothing else is different from the original. Whoops, boy. Nothing else is different from the original setup that came in it out of the box. So let me run out real quick and see how long this video is, and I'll decide if I have to talk about some little other changes or if I'll just go into some of the problems I've found with the setup out of the box for me. Might not be for other people. Also, one of them will be if I fly it here at the house or if I fly it at my flying fields. One would be good, one would be bad. Okay, I've got a little time left. I'm going to go through this real quick, down and dirty, about some of the changes I would make and why I don't like. Well, no, it's not that I don't like the defaults that came in out of the box. It's just they don't work for me in different places. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of look down through here at what is not at the default, and also at some of the other things and why I would want to change them. Quit that. This is not at default. Reason for it is, again, some of the trims. Look at this. This is the airplane altitude for return to launch. It's at 15,000 centimeters. The default is 5,000, but Heewing changed it to 15,000 centimeters. And 15,000 centimeters is 492 feet. I'm not even supposed to fly that high. So for the airplane mode, and I'm going to go ahead and change some of these parameters right now. As you remember, my trees around here are 100 feet, roughly. A few, 10% of them or so are up at 120 feet. So I'm going to put this at 150. So that's 4,572 centimeters. Boy, it would just drove me crazy had I left it at that and went to return to launch and it headed for 500 feet. I'd be doing all sorts of things to stop that. So now we'll change that. 4,572, 150 feet. We'll write that perimeter out to the flight controller. Coming down through here quickly. They don't have airspeed auto calc on, unless there's a Q airspeed that I don't know about yet. They do not have airspeed use on either. So I'm not sure about some of the stuff that we discussed in the previous videos about why airspeed calibration comes up in the menu messages when you are on Mission Planner, or what it would do. Okay. I have also seen when I put my my bench power supply at 16.8 volts, the platform thinks it's at 17 something. So the amp per volt may have to be changed, current may have to be changed, etc. Because these are, this is at the default. I'm not using a 3300. I'm going to start this out on a little bitty flight of 1300 milliamp hour battery. So I would want to make that change. And this volt multiplier is probably they've got it changed from the default. Looks like it could be down to the default, might be better because it shows much higher than what I've got. So that still may have to be changed. On down through here, there's not a lot of defaults changed. Well, there are some like this. Compass Cal Fit, it's at 100 from a default to 16. I have no idea why. Controls the fitness level required for a successful compass calibration. And that's not a table, that's just a number. Normally you would do radio calibration, accelerometer calibration, compass calibration, airspeed calibration, all sorts of calibrations for a platform. Because I did not see, when I bring this up from, firing it up, because in this list I do not see, well, it's because the compass and the GPS module isn't fired up right now, but if it were, it doesn't complain anything in this message about accelerometer calibration needed, compass calibration needed, because I think Heewing did it. Now, it wouldn't hurt a darn thing to redo it, and probably is the best way to go, and I will redo it, but I'm going to try to fly it as they did it first and see what happens. If I keep it low to the ground stuff, I should be able to handle strange behavior out of it. So we were down to compass. I wished I had a straight up perimeter list from this particular flight controller, but I don't have another one to put the firmware in. I would click reset to defaults, but that may make me do a compass calibration and stuff again. I could lay this back down, the perimeters back down over a new install, but it wouldn't keep my compass calibration, accelerometer calibration, and all those that's I think have already been done. So I do find little things like this. 32 is relaxed, 16 is the default, 8 is strict, 4 to 324. It looks like as the number goes up, yeah, starts to say it looks as the numbers go up, it gets less strict. And it does say right here, a lower value makes for a stricter fit, less likely to pass. I don't know if they did this just so their calibration could work and they sent it out the door. I have no idea. There will be other things in here like the rates, the compass offsets we see right here are different from the default. I think that's when they did their calibration. Kind of paging through this now. They've got a compass ID with first priority set automatically if 0. Reboot required after change. I don't know what put that number in there. Don't know what got this compass scaling in there. This does match the defaults that came in the platform. It's not something I did. Now right here I turned off compass use of 2 and 3 by changing, just clicking a box out there, but what it actually does, it changes these two perimeters from 1 to 0. Let's see. Here's another one. EK3 check scale. They changed it to a 150 from a default 100. I have no idea why. I'm going to leave it that way. This scales the thresholds that are used to check GPS accuracy before it is used by the EKF. A value of 100 is the default. Values greater than 100 increase. and values less than 100 reduce the maximum GPS error the EKF will accept. Ah, shit. So they've got it accepting 50% more errors. I don't know why they did that until I fully understand it. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to leave the values that came in it out of the box there. We can kind of apply that to all the rest of the parameters in here. I'm not going to go down through each and every one of them and look at them from the default. I'm just going to hit some of the high ones that I will change. Now I will fly it that way, and then we'll come back later and make changes, and I'll make videos about it at the time. See, I would leave the short at circle, and I'm going to leave the long. I'm going to put the long to 1, return to launch. That's something I do most of the time on my platforms. If there's some fail-safe, first thing it does is try to circle. I'd say not in copter mode. And if it goes on longer than 1.5 seconds, what you said in this perimeter right here, it reverts to this and does a return to launch. So this will give you just 1.5 seconds to figure out what's going on and decide what you want to do before it does something for you. So moving on down. See, here's a INS ACC ID, accelerometer sensor ID. Okay, I'd say Heewing changed that to this when they put it in, and default's 0. So some of this is done by the firmware. And these offsets again. So basically, the other thing I need to change for right now before my initial tests is down in the Q parameters. And why I say down in the Q parameters, oh yeah, by the way, they're using 6 OSD screens here for some reason. I haven't even looked at that yet. They've enabled 6 of them. Okay, here's the Q parameters. Everything for the quad plane is here. Starts right here with Q underscore A. If we look down in Q underscore E, you see right here is the Q enable. It's set as a 1. Wow, and the default's 1? I don't believe that. I believe the default is 0 and the Q parameters aren't even there until you enable it. And you see they've changed some of these Q frame class here, Q frame type. They did make sure this one was correct. And we'll look at that when we go through the Q quad plane docs. But anyway, I am not familiar with these at all. I've never seen them until yesterday because I've never had a quad plane before. Most of them are not at, a lot of them are not at defaults. You see these 3 here. The angle for pitch, roll, and yaw is 0.5 degrees larger. We increased it from 4.5 degrees to 5. I don't know. The rate on the pitch, they must have done some kind of little tune with it because that's changed. That's not the rate. Anyway, seeing I don't understand all of these, the one I want to change before I learn them is a lot of them, aren't there? Q, return to launch altitude. You know, we have that Q RTL as our third flight mode. We put it in that. This is what it's going to use. Its default is 15 meters. 45 feet. Heewing changed it to 20 meters. 60 feet. 60 feet's just going to be halfway up a tree around this house. So I really need this one to be badly to 50 meters for here at the house. But if I flew out at the sod field, the 20 would have been fine. The 20, it could have been 4 meters, 12 feet. But I'm going to do that in case I have to hit return to launch here for some reason. I want it to be above the trees around here. It has to be above the trees. We'll write that one out. Again, a lot of these being different. Q tilt rate down. They've changed this from the default here to a value. I can't see how it can be 0. But anyway, I will go through all of these values and learn them because I've never had a quad plane and I like to learn them. Waypoint radius in centimeters, 200. Waypoint speed up and down here is duplicated from the airplane. They still have the airplane parts. I mean, the airplane still has those perimeters at part of it. And actually, we can see them down here at the bottom. So, coming on down through here, there's nothing I really want to change in any of these particularly. Nope. But we will look at this right here. I wonder if automatic takeoff in airplane mode works on a quad plane, where I might want to change my takeoff altitude, my takeoff distance, the way I normally had them set up, and how far forward the accelerometers have to feel like it's moving forward before it arms, and how long the throttle delay is, etc. I might play with that one day when testing a automatic takeoff in airplane mode. Is there a Q takeoff? I don't think there would be. That's a damn quad. Nah, there's no Q takeoff. No. See, there's no Q takeoff. So that's almost the bottom of our perimeters when you get down there to take off. They did have terrain enabled, which didn't cause me a problem. Quit that. Didn't really cause me a problem, but what it did cause is because there were never any map files pulled into the platform from the internet. It complained about terrain data for a long time when it was hooked to Mission Planner. The whole time it was complaining, it was pulling in that data off the internet. Now I've had it enabled so much on Mission Planner, it's got it all in, and the bad terrain data has gone away. But they do not have train follow turned on. So it's kind of 6 1/2 dozen to the other. Just have to know what's going on there when it says bad terrain data. It's just because the data hasn't been pulled in. Here's your throttle failsafe value. I'll be playing with that as a throttle lost radio when the RC receiver goes out. Here's the throttle max, only at 80%. That can be a problem because takeoff mode uses what you put in there or this. Remember the little nano Talon EVO? I crashed because of something like this being in it, and I didn't change the throttle max and takeoff. Throttle max, I think it is, left it at as referring to this one, and that one was below 100%, and I really needed 100% that day. Didn't happen. Crashed. What else down through here? There is a tuning for the auto tune for the airplane, which is here. And there is a Q auto tune. Here's the things again. Waypoint radius is a little tighter here, I think, than it was. I can't remember. These are just the radius. Waypoint values I was talking about was duplicated in Q waypoint radius. And we'll go back up here and I will show you that there is a Q auto tune. There you go, right here. Wants to know which axes you want to Q auto tune. And you know me, I can go ahead and set this up a little bit because I'm going to do roll first by itself. I don't try to do them all, which is recommended by most people, unless you got a really big battery and a place like my sod fields where you can let it drift in the wind and just walk to follow it. So that's the major thing. So right now, if we go back now and compare what's in my platform to the way it came out of the box, there's a whole lot more values. Auto hold return to launch has been changed. The battery capacity, all those things you just saw me change. The Q return to launch altitude set at 20. I've now set it to 50 meters. But this is all that's been changed. This is everything that's even right now. Yeah. There's no more scrolling down. This is everything that's been changed from the defaults where it came in the door out of the box. That's it. That's the way I'm going to fly it for first flights. I may find that the ailerons are reversed. I haven't done any. I tested it on the bench. I'm pretty sure it's right. I also tested that it was in the stabilized mode. When I rock it to the right aileron goes down to pick up that wing. When I rock the nose up, the elevator goes down to compensate for that. That's all working. It was working out of the box. So that's pretty much everything for the build of this from scratch for first testing and tuning. And I will make changes to it, but I'll make videos for those in the future. But I'm not going to designate this one as the last build video because I'm going to do another one, and I'm just going to go through the quad plane documentation against this platform, because I told you in one of my videos this morning that the motor rotation direction that the Heewing was set up in and that I left it in is not what the Q plane documentation says. But that'll be my last video. I'm going to go ahead and shut this one down because I think we're probably over the 20 minutes anyway, and say thank you. Oops, I forgot one step that I need to show you. So now after I've made all those changes to my perimeter file, I'm going to save to file, and this is my Mission Planner perimeters for all my platforms. And under T1, here's my 435 perimeters. Here's the original as they came out of the box. I'm going to write over my 435, and now all my changes are saved. Okay, thank you for real this time. Thank you again.